Welcome. Hi, my name's Lynne and I am director of the Kidsbridge Tolerance Center in New Jersey and also author of The Empathy Advantage, Coaching Children to be Kind, Respectful, and Successful. And I'm so excited today because my guest is a woman I've known for many years, Eman El-Badawi, and she has done so much and given back to our community. I thought we would have a conversation today. So welcome.
Thank you.
To Princeton, and thank you you're a very busy person. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's exciting to be here, so thank you.
So also speaking of exciting, I want to congratulate you publicly. I'm so proud of you to be elected part of the Cranbury Town Council.
Township Committee, yes.
Committee.
Yes.
Not
so
council,
it's
committee.
It's the first time in 325 years since the birth of Cranbury as a town that they have supported a minority like myself. So
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I'm very grateful to the people that made it possible, honestly.
So let's just talk about that for a second, so that you're in a community that is used to white candidates. How did you communicate your passion for the community and that you wanted to give back, walking in the shoes of people who probably didn't know you? How did you use empathy to communicate your message?
Sometimes a lot of our communication doesn't have to do with what we say. It's more of what we do. And so I told myself from very early on that in order to know a community, it's not like you start out. It's not like me, who has a degree in biology and is running a sheep farm and raising 6 children, decides that they want to go this political route. I just volunteered in my town for everything that I could because I was a resident of a town that was in its own way embracing me. So you volunteer for everything, from the historical society to the food pantry at the church to a Cranbury craft day to the school events. You just volunteer. You make yourself visible, you make yourself useful. And I think, beyond that, treading the earth thoughtfully, obviously, just being kind, being, as you say, empathetic. It became clear to me that at some point the committees would sort of look at me and saying, she's here, she's present, she does work, she could be someone that could take on the next leadership position, and so that's what happened.
Wow. So it was a journey.
Very much.
That's very clever, actually. I mean, you love community service, and I've done community service with you. We did voter registration at your mosque, but it's wonderful that you enjoy doing that. And what I love about you is the way you involve about your family, so that you're role modeling community and giving back. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So my family is not just the members of my family. It really is their friends and our neighbors and the people within the community. And so if you remember, even earlier on, you and I were working with another organization, an interfaith, multi-faith organization, and we were doing this sort of multi-faith day of gathering, and it was held around the Christmas season, but it had to do with service. They were gathering goods for one of the local organizations in Trenton, and then we got together to do crafts and cultural sort of events. And I remember packing my van that day with 13 children from my town, including 4 of my own. So
that's a big van.
It's a big van. And I was excited that the children were happy to do it together. And that's what it is if you give someone a task and they have a friend to do it with, they're more likely to do it. And so it was great. The children managed to collect their volunteer hours. But more than that, they managed to collect these lovely memories, these lovely moments. I could just see them taking pictures with each other. Some of them were seeing each other for the first time, but they were united with this cause of doing something for the community.
Right. I remember that event and the fun factor that the kids are giving back, but they're having fun and being social at the same time.
Yes.
So, that was a fun event. So let's talk about the lens of empathy for giving back. I know you do work with Afghani refugees. There are, I think you said 15,000-ish at the Fort, what is the?
Fort Dix.
Fort Dix is nearby.
Yes.
Can you talk us a minute about teaching your children or the others you're working with, like, what is it like to walk in the shoes of an Afghan refugee lucky enough to be in this country, ripped away from their culture and their country.
Yeah.
Do you think about that and have these discussions with your colleagues or with your children?
Yeah, it's definitely something on many of our minds now because there is such an influx of Afghan refugees currently. I volunteer with an organization called Interfaith Rise, and they are out of the Second Reformed Church in Highland Park. They're an organization that has already gone through the resettlement licenses through the government, and so I don't work for them, I volunteer for them. I found that whenever they needed help, I would get the phone call. I just happened to have a friend that worked there, and she would say, can you provide, can you take, can you do? And it was a really good thing to be able to do. They're very good about taking in refugees from all around the world. So they had Christian Indonesians, and they had Christian Ethiopians, and they had Buddhists from different countries, and Muslims, and so it was nice to feel like I wasn't serving a faith, I was serving people. So now we've got this influx of Afghan refugees, and so they'll call for any task, like
the volunteers who are helping them will call, we need food, we need a bed, we
need an English lesson, we need a ride to the Social Security office, we need a ride from the doctor's office, we need you to just do a wellness check because so-and-so has just found out that they have diabetes and they're just sad. We need toys for the children. We need a day on your farm because these people have just had, really crummy couple of weeks. So the need takes different shapes, but it never goes away. And I'll do the work. And when I can, I will bring a child or two along with me. They don't have to be interested at this point, but they do have to be present because there's something about being in the environment of giving that enhances something within you as a human, especially as a growing human.
Right, and that gives me so much joy to hear what you're doing and to be surrounded by others, who are giving back. So I see empathy really in two parts. One is to walk in the shoes, to have empathy for the refugees or for, people who are food hungry or the multitude of needs, I think, in Mercer County in New Jersey. But empathy for others, but then empathy in action, we need to take action. So it's not enough to, Kidsbridge Tolerance Center does bullying, it's not enough to, feel sorry for someone who is being bullied or someone who's excluded. We need to take action. So can you talk a little bit about that? You are taking action to help these refugees. How can we better teach our children from an even younger age? Step one, empathy. Step two, take action. And you don't have to be the leader and you don't have to be the best one. You can join a team. You can be in a group. You can help others. I think we need to do a better job of that for all of our children.
I like your point, though, about you don't have to be the leader. You don't have to invent it, and you don't have to be the leader. But it's nice to join something that already exists because, for the most part, a lot of that work is already done. And then you can just focus on what's at hand, and that is to help this person, this group of people on their path. The cutest thing that I tell my children often is, if you look at these pictures of children in refugee camps, for example, they're all smiling. They may be in the most, scantily clad, not the most perfect clothing, but they're all smiling and they're playing with one ball. That one ball has brought them all such great joy because it united them. Whereas here, when my children go out to play, sometimes with their peers, we all have a ball. We are all playing with our ball and having a good time. But there's nothing uniting about that.
Interesting.
And it forces them to strip it all down and take it down to the simplicity of having this one item that we share and that we seek joy out of, and that we reinvent how we play with it, because that excites another part of the brain, that creative part of the brain that we may not be doing so much of now.
I love that the sharing and the taking turns. I think we need to learn better. Mm-hmm. I read from research that kids today, there's a lot with the cell phones, of course the addiction, and they see the phones and not each other, and the instant gratification. So I think we need to slow it down a little bit for kids. I don't know, in your kids' schools, are you seeing community service or service learning activities? I know that Kidsbridge once, I learned a lot by doing community service with students at Kidsbridge, and here's how it went. So we had kids from different communities make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we made, decorated them, and we're going to take them to task downtown, Trenton area soup kitchens and places. And then we completed that, and then I did a post-survey, and then I realized it was a mistake I made, but we learn from our mistakes, of course, that I didn't successfully have them walk in the shoes of kids who were hungry. And we're not talking about torturing kids and making them sad, but that just to make sandwiches did not reach the heart. It was a head exercise. So different ways, like you said, with the ball, to reach the heart of sharing. And in my case, for this activity, to better have kids understand what it's like, to go without food, which is a very challenging, horrible thing. So, I mean, a lot of kids, I think in Trenton, come to school without breakfast, which is very sad.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's something about feeding a hungry person. When my kids come back from school, when they've come from their sports, and they devour whatever it is with relish. And, you can use those as teachable moments. And I do often, I'll say, don't waste it. That little morsel that you have left, don't waste it. You saw how so-and-so didn't have. You read about, these countries where they're eating scraps. I did also spend a lot of time with my kids this summer stocking some of the pantries at a facility called Urban Promise in Trenton.
Wow.
And in the beginning, my kids were very upset with their mother for having them working to pack these food bags and then, fill in a truck and then, drive the truck and empty the truck. It was about a 5-hour investment. And this was their summer. How could I infringe upon their summer, right? But let me tell you, when we drove to the location, the streets that we had to drive through, I saw their faces change. And they said, "Mom, where are we? Is this still America?" Yes, it is. In fact, this is still New Jersey. We are only 11 minutes from home. And then when we got to the facility, we had, at the first unloading of our food was about 190 bags of food that we had packed. It's not just my effort, it's the effort through the Presbyterian Church in Cranbury. Mm-hmm. And so my kids, I sent them first, I said, go scope out where we have to put these bags. And they said, "Mom, it's empty. The rooms are empty." I said, "That's the point.
Excellent.
That's what we're doing."
Excellent.
And they filled the tables and they filled the tables, and they had to put up more tables, and they filled the tables. And at the end of it, they were hot, they were sweaty. It was the heart of summer. And they said, I said, "I'll take you guys out for ice cream now. You've all certainly earned it." And they said, "No, that's okay. Let's go home. Like that was good work. We just want to go home now."
Great learning experience. I did something similar. I took my kids. Trenton area soup kitchen gets the world coming on Thanksgiving. It's good to go on the other days. But we did go one day, and my daughter did not want to go. And so we got there, and then, I think there was a little fear factor in there. But we got in, and then I think they set the tables, and then I wanted my kids to work. I mean, I can work anytime, serving out food and all. And it's just, you can't describe it really as a picture is 1,000 words. Another thing I did with my children, we were lucky enough to go to Guatemala, and we were going to Tikal, which is a beautiful Mayan pyramid. Well, the miles in Guatemala to this tourist destination, and it was gorgeous, were lined with people, huts, living by the side of the road, kids like almost playing in the street. Mm-hmm. No running water, no electricity, and it really was a profound, they were quiet because they had never seen like miles of people living like this. So it really, they have to see it, right? You can only talk so much. They really have to see it. So
the perception of reality is definitely a far greater catalyst to their learning, I think, than just us talking about it. Now, I come from the advantage of being from sort of multicultures. I'm half Arab, half Indian. My kids have visited, although they were very young. They remember a little bit of what they saw. Point is, if our youth, and when I say children, I don't mean just my biological children, it's them and their friends in our community. If you infuse in them the idea that the person in front of them is a human, what does that human want? Don't they want to dress well? Don't they want to eat well? Don't they want to have entertainment? Don't they want to smile today? Don't they want to be loved today? Don't they want to be seen today? Everything that you want for yourself is what that person wants.
Amen.
So just assume it for them, and see if you can find a path to get them to it. You know, the word empathy, we talk about empathy, embedded in the word is the word path.
I never thought about that.
Right?
That's really good. I'm going to use that. That's great. So I want to shift our conversation a little bit. Obviously, you are Muslim. I know your father was from Egypt. And
India. Father from India, mother from Egypt.
Egypt, right.
Yes.
So you're from two countries. And I'd like people to walk in the shoes. What is it like to be a Muslim child today? What is it like to be a Muslim mother today? At the Kidsbridge Tolerance Center, we've taught religious diversity, the golden rule. Every religion says, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Yeah.
I think maybe some schools do not teach the golden rule, but we were very happy to do that at Kidsbridge. And sadly, and this is since, I don't know, for maybe 15, 17 years in the Kidsbridge Tolerance Center, this stereotype. All Muslims are terrorists.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, you know, what it feels like as a child to hear this, because there are so many tropes and stereotypes. But can you talk a little bit about what your kids are hearing and how they deal with bias and stereotypes today?
So yeah, it's my children are very blessed because of where they are. Where we are situated in New Jersey is a sweet little farming town called Cranbury. And it's such a small community that pretty much everybody knows everybody. So you get the feel that people don't want to slip up because so-and-so will hear about it. But the nature of children is they're not the kindest people.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Because they need more empathy.
Yes, and they need a little bit of guidance, and they need to be in an environment that fosters this empathy.
Okay.
And so yes, my children have heard things, have experienced things. And I feel a little bit guilty for that because as a veiled Muslim, being their mother, I blow their cover. I know that.
Right.
And so my children don't look outwardly Muslim.
Right.
I have not asked any of my daughters to take on the hijab or the clothing that I wear. I have not asked my sons to do anything other than, you know, be good people. That emulates, I think, the values of Islam the best. But they have heard comments, like I skimmed through your book, and it hit a little bit close to home. Some of the people talking about the color of their skin, and I can't play with you because you look like this.
Right. I mean, I've read hijabs are
ripped off
of girls in the hall.
And I'm
such.
grateful my children haven't experienced that, but that's why I mean that I think they come from a very sweet community of Cranbury, that this hasn't been the case. But you know, people close to me have had what you are experiencing, what you are talking of. I have a nephew who was told very recently that was he joining the basketball team to blow people up?
Middle school?
Middle school.
Yeah, that's painful.
And he didn't fully understand what they were talking about. You know, he very innocently brought this conversation home, and his parents sort of sat there and aghast, like, why and how? And it's hard when children are affected and they haven't provoked it. Right? They haven't provoked it. So we as parents are telling our children, walk the earth thoughtfully, be kind, be compassionate, be intelligent, be helpful. And then unprovoked, they get these comments. So it's very painful. But you can choose to be defined by that or not. And I think in showing my children that I ran for a public office, and I lost the first time, and I ran for public office again. And I won. And I won because I think people grew to trust and respect me. That is what they have to assume, I think, of the people in front of them. Because if you tread the earth with fear and guard, it does something to you that may not always...
You're also modeling resilience, because things don't come easy always the first time, but you pick yourself up and you're resilient. So that's a wonderful lesson.
Yes, but you know, Lynn, as a woman, you know this yourself, that especially if you're a woman and if you're from a minority group, it doesn't come the first time. You're lucky if it does, and that's great. And I hope that if it does come for you the
Yeah.
first time, that you now mentor someone. But you can choose every day. You choose to be the victim, you choose to be sad, you choose to be oppressed, or you choose to be resilient. You choose to move forward in life. Take this batch of great people that are on your side and move forward and get the work done. There's so much work to do.
There's so much. There's so many people in need today and so much work to do. Do you have tips? I mean, I love the way you're raising your family and your husband too. Do you have tips for listeners to this program, grandparents, parents, guardians, caregivers, how to infuse? So let's take one at the dinner table. The kind of conversations you can have at the dinner table. Get those phones off the table, of course, so that the kids can really focus on practicing conversational skills and, again, this caring about others and taking action. What if they hear a comment against a Muslim child or a Jewish child or a black child? It's all the same anti-bias thing, right?
Yes, it is all the same, for sure. We have a saying in the Muslim faith, and it's, if you see injustice, know it for what it is, and then affect it, change it with your hand. If you can't change it with your hand, change it with your heart. If you can't change it with your heart, then pray on it, pray for it. That bit of having my kids observe and see what goes on in their lives and deciding for themselves, is it good or is it bad? Now, how do you decide if it's good or it's bad? These are from conversations, as you say, examples. Nothing is greater than the example of an elder. I think that's why grandparents are such a wealth in our lives, right? Their lived experiences and their ability to tell a story and it be heard differently than if a mother and a father told a story. They are the greatest storytellers. But
and
just
they have the time.
They have the time, but let's go even just right back to what you said, Lynn. And I know you mentioned this in your book, but to have a dinner. Have a dinner.
Right.
Sit down and have a dinner.
No media.
No media.
Face to face.
Enjoy the food.
Yeah.
Pick up after the food. Clean up together.
Yeah. Research has said, because it says that kids' interpersonal face-to-face skills are diminished because of phones, and then, some parents use the tablet and the, different media as babysitters. So we really need to get back to reading people's faces, and those soft skills. I think we need to do a better job.
The social skills are definitely lacking, and there's there will be a depletion, I think, in our experiences because of it. Like the quality of our experience, I should say, is not going to be what it was because of this. Something as simple as when a child shows up at your door now, it's really a surprise when they make eye contact and they say, "Hello, Mrs. So-and-so, thank you for having me." So I'll point it out to my kids and I'll say, do you remember little so-and-so that came over? They thanked me, so you should go and say, good job or something.
I was thinking for some families that don't have grandparents, there are very lonely seniors in Mercer County in senior homes. I think there's a way with a group to go in and, sing or dance or just have conversations. I know when I was young, we went into the Greenwood House, and these were seniors who were, some of them without families. So they just, when they see a child, they just so light up, and it's a gift.
Yeah, it is. But how many times do you see, Lynn, where people move into a neighborhood and you're like, oh, how do you like your neighbors? They're like, I don't know them. Why don't you know them? It's one thing if neighbors are hostile, but if you have the ability to say hello, that is so powerful.
Yeah. And
say hello.
I think people are lonelier today. We're just more isolated and siloed in our community. So, just the power of hello and recognizing and listening to a human being. We need to do a better job of that. And I think inculcate that as you're doing with your kids, those skills at a younger age. Bullying and bias starts at 3 years old. So I also want people listening to know it's never too young to really have these conversations and model this and start with these skills. Our kids are watching us very closely.
For sure. I will add one thing that I think that has been very healing for people in my family in general, and that is nature.
Nature.
Right? And when you feel like you're in these moments of stress and you're not making headway with your children and you can't seem to settle, whatever this unsettled feeling is, go to nature, take a walk, take a hike, hang out with some animals. It's been for me, I have my flock of sheep on my farm, and I can tell you when I'm the most stressed, I go to my flock.
I love that.
You get a lot of clarity. It is a relationship that doesn't tax each other.
Yeah. Pulls you back down to the earth, and the trees, the bushes, the nature. I think again, children slow down, appreciate nurture, and there's so much more environmentally we can do for our planet with the fires and the floods and the challenges that the earth has. So that's another very important thing, empathy in action, to have empathy for the earth and the animals.
Yes.
And what we're so blessed with, this beautiful, beautiful planet.
We are blessed. This is quite a blessed country, don't you think? Like, I can't walk anywhere without saying, really, this is, we say Alhamdulillah, meaning thanks be to God. This is beautiful. These creations, praise be to God, yes.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
So, you're involved with so many organizations, and with empathy we feel for these Afghani families, parents, children coming. Can you list a couple of organizations maybe people listening would like to help out? What's going on?
Yeah, so the need exists now, and it will exist for a very long time. I have always volunteered with an organization called Interfaith Rise that I mentioned earlier. They are out of the Second Reformed Church in Highland Park under the direction of Pastor Seth Caperdale. You will find a variety of tasks that you can do as a volunteer. You don't have to be trained. You don't have to have a car. If there is a task to be done, you just have to sign up for it. And some of it can be done via Zoom. So for those people that think that they can't do it, you can do it. I would also like to lift up the work that the Muslim Center of Greater Princeton, they've done a lot of work with the Afghan refugees, packaging clothing, sending truckloads and truckloads of coats and supplies and diapers, and they come out with their own list of items that the organization needs or that the community needs, and they will collect, and then they'll ask people to come and help sort. That's actually a big job. So if you can't give, then come and sort. You'll feel really good.
Always something to do. So that is empathy in action, and we're hoping people will feel empathetic for those in need and take action. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for spending time. Busy, busy mother, busy person, busy committee member and citizen. This is Lynne Eman, Director of Kidsbridge Tolerance Center, where we encourage children to be empathetic and take action for their peers and for our community in need. And I'm also author of The Empathy Advantage, coaching children to be kind, respectful, and successful, and take action. Thanks for being with us today. Have a great day.